Hi, I'm Mandy. Have you ever heard a saying that winning fame is simple? You just have to risk everything? Well, I believed it and went through a bit of a hellish time, but here's the full story. I grew up on the outskirts of a small town. Real backwater, a school, couple of stores, police office, prairies about. My mom and dad had a farm. I think my family owned it since the times the dinosaurs roamed the earth. Family business, that was what was in stock for me after school. I wanted to break free, to leave this shabby town, to travel, to get famous. I helped Mom with her chickens and goats since I started walking and helped Dad with crops. My only outlet was my cousin's old guitar. So I graduated. By that time, I played pretty well and knew music sheets, and I thought this was my future. What was there for me as an agricultural major anyway? I decided that with a little cunning, I told my parents that I went to college and went straight for the city. That was my chance to become a musician. I never had a doubt about my potential. Have you ever left everything and moved away like that? As soon as I arrived, I rented a studio to record my first hit. I sent the recording to country producers and waited to wake up famous. A month went by and I didn't get a single reply. Perhaps solo country artists weren't the thing right now. I found another studio, recorded a song with a hired band. Much better. Sent it out again. Yet another month went by, and I started to run out of money. I wasn't able to pay even for the modest living any longer, and I had two choices. Go home and confess it all to my parents, or get out on the streets. Gosh, I'm such a dumb idiot. I chose the wrong way. I sang on the streets all day long and paid for a hostel with the meager money that I made from tips. When I made close to nothing, I had to sleep in the park. Music was no longer a pleasure for me. I almost hated my guitar. When I had to play hours on end in any weather, I did it just to scrape up a few bucks for food. Once a man approached me. He offered me a job in his bar for a very small wage, but promised me to get me a room to live in. I thought my dreams were coming true, but they didn't, of course. I was just serving drinks, doing dishes, mopping floors. He paid me $400 at the end of the month. But immediately I took $300 for rent. I realized I was a slave. I wasn't really forced into these conditions, but leaving meant going back onto the street. I lived like this for 2 months. In a couple of months, my boss hit on me. I said no, and he kicked me right out. That was the last straw. A guitar, a backpack, and a few bucks I spent on food. Nothing else. I realized it was time to go home. I'll just tell my parents I was kicked out of the university. I tried to make some money for the ticket home, next to the bus stop, but I was told that I'd have to pay a fine. I was in despair. I sat stupefied for the rest of the day. Closer to evening, I saw an elderly lady drop her wallet and not notice it. Here it was, my salvation. I jumped to grab the wallet and hid it under my sweatshirt, but seeing the old lady looking for her wallet to buy a ticket, I became ashamed. Did the city really turn me into a monster? From a country girl, I gave her back her wallet. She thanked me, gave me a few bucks. I cried in gratitude and the woman asked me what the matter was. I told her and she said, "Oh, silly you, call your parents right this minute." She even gave me her phone. They weren't mad at me. As soon as they learned I was on a bus station in the city with no money, they were so worried they couldn't even stay angry. I was so happy to hug them again. I was so ashamed that I stayed put for a few months, helped them around the farm. Read books to enroll into an agriculture course for real right now. Then Mom found a few nameless CDs among my things, and I remembered the recordings and demos I made. They weren't bad at all. My parents liked them too, and suddenly I knew there's a small radio station in our town. I sent my CDs there, and I heard my songs on air that very evening. Our own singer in our town, our backwater town. That was big news for them. I never expected such feedback. The radio station was pelted with calls and emails, and they even invited me to be a guest at a talk show one evening. I talked about my adventures, and then kids from a neighboring town found me through the radio. They had their own band and were happy to ask me to sing with them. It's not like we're world famous or anything, but we get around and people know us, and if I learned something from my farm life, it's never give up on work. So we have a long way to go. I suppose with a bit of thinking, it's still possible to find yourself. Have Have your dreams ever come true in an unexpected way like mine? Please share your stories in comments below and subscribe to our channel to know when we post something new. Like our story if you're also into creativity and can relate to a country girl like me. Have a great day and may your creative experience be a positive one.